not like Bruce, who is very warm and affectionate, to going the complete opposite of that was alarming.
At 70 years old, Bruce Willis is not just a Hollywood icon, he is a man whose life story now reads like a movie script with no final scene. After decades of action-packed glory, blockbuster success, and a fortune built from grit and charisma, the shocking truth is that the legacy he leaves behind is stirring heartbreak within his own family. With a fortune worth hundreds of millions and a legacy that spans generations, what should have been a story of peace and pride has instead become one filled with tears, tension, and unanswered questions. How did a man who spent his life bringing people together on screen end up leaving behind a legacy that could divide the ones he loved most? Long before Bruce Willis became one of the highest-paid stars in Hollywood, he was just a bartender in New York City with a dream and a raspy voice that made him stand out. His break came in the mid-1980s with the television series Moonlighting, where his sharp wit and natural charm turned him into a household name almost overnight. But television was just the beginning. When Bruce landed the role of John McClane in Die Hard, it changed not only his career, it changed the entire action movie genre. Studios did not believe a regular guy with a smirk could carry an action film, yet Bruce proved them wrong. The movie exploded at the box office, turning him into an international sensation and earning him paychecks most actors could only dream of. As the Die Hard franchise grew, so did his fortune. Bruce quickly became known for negotiating smart deals that included back-end profits, meaning every time his movies played on television or streaming, the checks kept coming. He went on to headline films like Armageddon, Pulp Fiction, The Sixth Sense, and Unbreakable, each adding millions to his growing empire. But Bruce was more than just an actor. He was a businessman. He invested in real estate across the United States and abroad, buying homes in Idaho, New York, and the Caribbean. His investments paid off handsomely, and over the years, his net worth soared to an estimated $250 million. Even the brands he endorsed benefited from his everyman appeal. He brought a sense of authenticity that audiences trusted. Behind the scenes, Bruce was also deeply involved in music, producing, and small business ventures. Friends said he had an instinct for timing. He knew when to take risks and when to cash out. That sense of timing helped him stay relevant, even when Hollywood shifted to new generations of stars. What began as a dream in a smoky New York bar had become one of the greatest success stories in film history. But as the wealth grew, so did the weight of fame. And eventually, something even money could not control began to change everything. For decades, Bruce Willis had built his identity on strength, the fearless cop who ran barefoot through glass, the hero who never backed down. But in 2022, that image began to crumble when news broke that he was quietly battling aphasia, a condition that affects speech and communication. At first, fans were stunned. How could one of the most charismatic voices in Hollywood lose the very thing that defined him? His family released a statement explaining that Bruce was stepping away from acting, and for many, it felt like the curtain had closed far too soon. As the months passed, whispers turned into concern. In 2023, his family shared another heartbreaking update. Bruce had been diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia, a rare and aggressive brain disorder that slowly strips away memory, speech, and personality. Suddenly, the man who had once commanded sets full of hundreds was struggling with the simplest conversations at home. For his wife, Emma Hemming Willis, and his 5 daughters, the diagnosis was devastating. They rallied around him, protecting his privacy and dignity as best they could. His ex-wife, Demi Moore, remained a constant presence, showing that family ties could outlast divorce papers. Together, they formed what many called a modern family miracle, a united front in the face of something none of them could control. Still, behind closed doors, life changed dramatically. Bruce could no longer work, travel freely, or even recognize certain familiar faces for long periods. Every choice, from medical care to financial planning, became urgent. The man who once played invincible heroes now needed others to protect him. And as his ability to make decisions faded, the question of who would guide his fortune and legacy loomed larger than ever. As Bruce Willis's condition worsened, the world saw less of the man who once commanded the screen with confidence. But behind the scenes, major decisions were being made about the empire he had spent 4 decades building. By 2024, it was estimated that Bruce's net worth had reached nearly $250 million, a fortune accumulated through acting, producing, real estate, and royalties that continued to pour in from classic films like The Sixth Sense and Die Hard. Yet, that fortune now rested in someone else's hands. With Bruce unable to oversee his own finances, responsibility shifted to his wife, Emma Hemming Willis. She became the key figure in managing his medical care, business affairs, and long-term estate planning. Insiders say she worked closely with financial advisors and legal teams to ensure every decision honored Bruce's wishes. But not everyone in the family agreed with how those choices were made. The complexity of managing such a large fortune, combined with the emotional strain of Bruce's illness, created an atmosphere of quiet tension. Emma reportedly placed much of Bruce's wealth into trusts designed to protect his daughter's futures. His 2 youngest children with Emma, Mabel and Evelyn, were believed to be provided for through carefully structured funds that would secure their education and long-term stability. Meanwhile, his 3 older daughters from his marriage to Demi Moore, Rumor, Scout, and Tallulah, were also beneficiaries of separate arrangements, though some reports suggested differences in how the assets were divided. The financial structure of Bruce's estate is intricate, involving real estate holdings, royalties from decades of film work, and residuals that continue to generate income even now. His properties in Los Angeles and Idaho are estimated to be worth tens of millions, while other international investments add layers of complexity. Managing these assets became not only a matter of paperwork, but one of legacy, how to balance fairness, respect, and practicality when the patriarch can no longer weigh in. Publicly, Emma Hemming Willis presented strength and grace, often sharing updates that focused on gratitude and awareness for dementia research. Privately, though, family sources hinted at stress and conflict brewing under the surface. The line between protecting Bruce's legacy and controlling it began to blur, and for some, that difference was impossible to ignore. But financial control was only one part of the story, because what happened next would reveal that even the strongest family bonds can bend under the pressure of wealth, fear, and grief. On the surface, Bruce Willis's family appeared united. His current wife, his ex-wife, and his 5 daughters often photographed together, smiling and standing strong beside him. But as Bruce's illness deepened and the decisions surrounding his care and finances became more complicated, cracks began to show beneath that picture-perfect image. Reports started to surface, suggesting that not everyone in the Willis-Moore family agreed on how Bruce's estate and daily life were being managed. According to several insiders, tension grew between Emma Hemming Willis and Bruce's older daughters from his marriage to Demi Moore, Rumor, Scout, and Tallulah. They had always been close to their father, but now they felt increasingly distant from the decision-making process. Some believed that Emma had taken on too much control, not only of his health care, but also of financial matters that affected the entire family. While Emma maintained that every choice was made to protect Bruce's well-being, whispers of mistrust began to circulate. The older daughters reportedly wanted more access to their father, more transparency about his condition, and a greater say in his legacy. Demi Moore, known for maintaining an amicable relationship with both Bruce and Emma, tried to keep the peace. But the emotional strain of watching Bruce fade from the man they once knew weighed heavily on everyone. Each member of the family was grieving in a different way, some through closeness, others through quiet distance. Adding to the tension were rumors that parts of Bruce's wealth might be handled differently than originally expected. Some sources claimed that more assets had been placed under Emma's management, while others suggested the older daughter's inheritance might be tied up in long-term trusts. Whether these reports were accurate or exaggerated hardly mattered. Once questions about money and control enter a family already facing tragedy, every decision feels personal. Through it all, Bruce's loved ones remained committed to protecting his dignity. They rarely spoke publicly about the disagreements, but those close to the family said the emotional undercurrent was impossible to miss. A fortune meant to secure comfort had become a source of conflict, and what once brought pride was now stirring pain. But just as the family tried to steady themselves, another layer of the story emerged, one tied not to emotions or legal papers, but to the hidden assets and financial moves Bruce made long before his diagnosis. While most people know Bruce Willis for his blockbuster films, few realize how quietly strategic he was behind the scenes with his money. Long before illness forced him to step away from the spotlight, Bruce had been shifting assets, selling properties, and setting up financial safeguards that now appear more deliberate than anyone realized. His empire was not built on flash, but on foresight, and those moves are now at the center of speculation about what exactly he left behind. Over the years, Bruce owned an impressive list of properties. His Caribbean estate in Turks and Caicos was once valued at more than $30 million, a sprawling paradise of white sand and privacy. He sold it years before his diagnosis, reportedly transferring the proceeds into private investment accounts. He also sold his Sun Valley, Idaho home, a peaceful mountain retreat, along with multiple real estate holdings in New York and Los Angeles. These sales raised eyebrows because they happened just before his health issues became public. Some believe Bruce and Emma were preparing for a future they already suspected might be difficult. Others think he simply wanted to simplify his life. Still, not everything about his financial moves was straightforward. Insiders suggest that some of Bruce's earnings were quietly placed into family trusts and business ventures designed to protect them from public scrutiny or future legal complications. Royalties from his long list of films, including Pulp Fiction, The Fifth Element, and The Sixth Sense, continue to flow steadily. Many of those rights are controlled through production companies and entities Bruce established years ago, making it nearly impossible for outsiders to know exactly how much money still comes in each year. There were also whispers that Bruce invested in smaller private ventures, restaurants, tech startups, and even eco-friendly real estate projects. Some of these investments reportedly yielded major returns, while others faded quietly into loss. Yet together, they created a complex web of wealth that is still being untangled by his estate managers. To his fans, Bruce Willis was a Hollywood legend who lived life fearlessly. To those who knew him best, he was also a planner, a man who made decisions long before anyone knew how much they would matter. As one former business associate reportedly put it, Bruce always thought ahead. He did not wait for things to happen to him. He made sure his family would be taken care of, no matter what. But even the best planning cannot protect against what money can do to human emotion. And as the truth about Bruce's hidden fortune continues to unfold, the emotional toll on his family has become the most revealing part of the story yet. For most of his life, Bruce Willis was the symbol of strength, a man who never flinched, even when the odds were stacked against him. Yet, the people closest to him have learned that true strength does not come from surviving explosions or saving the world on screen. It comes from watching someone you love slowly fade away and realizing there is no script, no hero, and no happy ending. Those around Bruce describe the emotional weight as almost unbearable. His wife, Emma Hemming Willis, has spoken about the daily reality of caregiving, the endless appointments, the quiet heartbreak of watching him slip further from recognition. She has become his voice, his protector, and his constant companion, while also raising their two young daughters. For Emma, the responsibility is immense. She is not only caring for a husband, but also guarding a legacy that millions of fans hold dear. For his older daughters, Rumor, Scout, and Tallulah, the emotional battle is different. They grew up with Bruce as their superhero, not the character from the movies, but the father who made them laugh, who cheered from the sidelines, and who taught them resilience. Now, they are faced with the painful reality that their father, the man who once lit up every room, often struggles to express the simplest thoughts. They speak openly about their love for him, sharing memories and photos, hoping to preserve what time has not yet taken. Demi Moore, his ex-wife and lifelong friend, remains part of that emotional circle. She has shown grace in standing beside Emma and the rest of the family, even during moments of tension. Friends say Demi's presence provides a link to Bruce's past, a reminder of his vibrant years before illness took hold. Together, they have all found themselves navigating an uncharted kind of grief, mourning the gradual loss of a man who is still here. Beyond the sadness lies a deeper truth. Bruce's fortune, no matter how vast, cannot restore what dementia has stolen. It cannot bring back his sharp humor, his commanding voice, or his endless energy. What remains instead is love, raw, imperfect, and often painful. His family knows that every decision they make now, from medical choices to inheritance discussions, will define how the world remembers him. In public, they smile and stand united. In private, they hold onto fragments of the man they once knew, trying to find comfort in the pieces that still remain. Because in the end, no amount of money can ease the heartbreak of watching a loved one disappear in slow motion. But even through that pain, Bruce's story carries one final message, a reflection on legacy, love, and what truly lasts when the spotlight fades. As the curtain quietly falls on Bruce Willis's extraordinary life story, one truth stands out. His legacy was never just about action scenes or Hollywood paychecks. It was about resilience, humor, and a heart that could fill a room. Today, his fortune may be worth hundreds of millions, but what his family grieves is not the loss of wealth. It is the loss of the man behind it. The empire Bruce built will continue to provide for his loved ones long after he is gone. His films will keep streaming, his royalties will keep flowing, and his name will remain etched in Hollywood history. But behind the numbers lies something deeper, the reminder that time, not money, is the real currency of life. For his family, that realization is bittersweet. Every home movie, every old photo, every story shared over dinner reminds them that love outlives any estate. What makes Bruce's story so powerful is that it mirrors something universal. The struggle between success and fragility, between public glory and private pain. Even surrounded by fame and fortune, life's most difficult battles are still deeply human. And while the media may focus on the inheritance, the properties, and the supposed rift, those closest to him know that Bruce's true legacy is not measured in dollars, but in memories, laughter, and the strength he left behind in those who loved him. So as fans around the world reflect on his journey, from a bartender with a dream to one of cinema's most unforgettable legends, the message is clear. Cherish your moments, protect your family, and remember that every story, no matter how bright, comes with its own shadows. Bruce Willis may no longer command the big screen, but his spirit continues to light up the hearts of millions. His legacy is not just what he left behind, it is what continues to live on. If this story moved you, take a moment to like, share, and comment your favorite Bruce Willis memory below. And do not forget to subscribe, because we have more powerful stories of resilience, legacy, and the hidden truths behind Hollywood's biggest legends coming your way.